Assalamu alaikum everyone. So we're going to talk about the retail analysis of Junaid Jamshed or J Dot. So our group members include myself, Ali Ijaz, and Masfar Riaz, Syed Osama Zair, Yusuf Shakil, and Zahdi Aya. So we're going to begin with the company background. So J Dot is a Pakistani company that was founded in 2002 by the singer Junaid Jamshed himself. It prides itself in providing modern Islamic clothing, which is based in Eastern fashion, inspired by the Aztec ages and the Arabian ages as well. It has 100 plus retail stores across Pakistan. It has an international footprint as well in countries such as UK, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, and UAE. So the brand promise of J Dot is obviously providing the right product at the right price for all its customers, and it's also Sharia compliant, so it follows the Islamic values and standards of providing modest clothing. So some of the key factors that makes J Dot as successful as it is that it focuses on maximizing the customer experience for all its uh, consumers, rather than just focusing on the customer satisfaction. It also invests heavily in human resources so that it always has access to the best talent. It has started leveraging AI as well to make better decisions. And in order to stay ahead of its competition, it studies international market trends and tries to stay ahead of the market by uh, implementing those trends in Pakistan before its competition does. So this is a video of J Dot.
Welcome to a world of infinite possibilities. With over 100 stores and counting, spanning almost every single continent and mountain, with a style strength as diverse as those behind it, we are your local, we are your global. We are the beacon of fashion, the en vogue mogul. Collaboration, dedication, innovation. We inspire, aspire, make you desire. We are the free thinkers, designing to become game changers. Forever setting the standard, the creative trailblazers. From local to global, ours is a world of infinite possibilities, where opportunities are limitless. And dynamic thought is intrinsic to our work ethos. This is our world. This is our vision. We are the way forward. We are J Dot.
So now we're going to move on to the comparative analysis that Zed is going to talk about.
Right. Assalamu alaikum. So thank you, Ali. So I'll start off with so basically हमने visits करी थी Dolphin Mall Clifton गए थे, and we were interactions with J Dot के head of retail excellence, Awais Anjum. So he was basically helping us, and he basically opened us to this possibility कि हम लोग visits करें ये stores की in Dolphin Mall Clifton, because these were where mostly flagship stores थे, brands के, competitors के. So we visited multiple outlets over there, and I'll be talking about some of them over here. So Khadi ka experience hub hai, they've recently rebranded and relaunched and this was truly an eye-opening experience जहाँ उन्होंने बहुत सारी different चीजें करी हुई थी. So for example खाड़ी का जो use of material था, it was using a rock on the pillars, as you can see in the picture on the top left. वहाँ it gives a different feel, it gives a modern look. Apart from that, you can see the open mechanical piping and the air conditioning ke jo ducts hote hain, it's all open wiring, so that gives a very rough industrial look, but at the same time it gives a really modern and a really unique look to the stores, and which is quite trending these days. So as I go forward, I'll show how these are actually quite different. Apart from that, if you look at the picture on the top right, what's interesting to notice is this is the Khadi Khas, which is Khadi Khas ka section. And the way they're done zoning was particularly interesting. They brought many things to light. So for example, on the picture on the top right, jo Khadi Khas hai, इसमें इन्होंने, you can see the golden chandeliers, because this is a luxury collection, they have a particular focus on certain things. So over here they've given a different look to the entire store, and they've used a gray tiling, which gives a very simplistic and a perfect look. Uske saath saath the golden chandeliers, they really reflect a luxurious look which is coherent with the brand. And if you look at the iron cladding, it's in gold color, which again gives a very premium look to the store. Saath saath, if you look at on the bottom left, it's the same store, but because this is a different section, now you can see that the jo rooftop hai, uski jo they've given it a false ceiling, or us wajah se and it's painted white, and it gives a different look. It separates the category from the rest, which was quite unique and really well executed by Khadi at their experience hub. Saath saath, you can see there's a lot of use of digital screens, which gives a futuristic look. Yahan click and collect section bhi tha inka, which is their shift towards omni-channel experience. Saath saath hi, you can look at the mannequins, how they've been dressed up. And one thing I'd like to point out in the bottom right picture is how they've differentiated the zoning. So you can see on the tiles, there's one color tile on one end and there's another color tile on one end. Why is that? Because you're stepping into a different zone. And they really want to make that evident to their customer that there's a different zone, that it helps change the look and feel of the section. And we saw this particularly in Khadi Cafe as well, where there was a different type of music playing. There was wooden material used to give a very calm, and it was like a break away from the industrial urban look of the entire store. Saath saath hi, there was a special focus on the lighting. There was spotlights, really well lit store, and it was quite, and there were marble tops throughout the store, jahan it would give a very simplistic look, yet a very sleek and modern look, और एक premium look आ जाती थी, जो कि grey एक bottom होता था और उसके table के ऊपर marble top होता था, and it was quite interesting to note that way. Ali, if you could move on to the next slide, please. And yeah, I'd like to also mention कि जो इन्होंने POS जो इनका point of sale था, उसके करीब they would have these impulse items, they would have placed these impulse items जहाँ they would actually just try to be encourage that people pick up the low value items. साथ साथ ही yeah, this is just more about the Khadi Experience Hub. This was a bit of an older look, so as you can see यहाँ जो wooden texture इस्तेमाल हुआ है, they've shifted away from that, and they've started using a more industrial urban look, a more futuristic look to the store. If you could move on to the next. Yeah, and this is just more of the same. You can see how they've created a section, create your mark. So here they've used orange colors. Yahan inki different lighting hai. You can see with the opaque lighting over at the top. Saath saath hi, they've created these round structures that are actually quite interesting, and they bring out the brand. They've created this brand, create your mark, and they want to have it. They want to give a specific significance to that brand, which is why this is evident. Ali, if you could move on to the next slide, please. So yeah, over here I'll just be talking about Sapphire. This was quite interesting. So Sapphire was much more structured than Khadi. Khadi was more of a free-floating layout, whereas Sapphire was much more structured. So over here they would have items pushed to the sides, and as you can see, ऊपर जो इन्होंने बिल्कुल जो इन्होंने rooftop दिया हुआ है, although it's open, जो ceiling दी हुई है, although it's open for the most part, यहाँ इन्होंने चारपाई का look दिया हुआ है, जो बिल्कुल woven cloth होता है उसका एक look दिया हुआ है to give it a rough traditional look to the store. And over here again you can see it's much more organized, the store. It has the waterfalls pushed to the sides, साथ साथ ही mannequins in the center. There is use of planters throughout the store as well, which gives a natural look to the store. It's maybe they have a lot of and they had different categories at Sapphire. So they had home, even Cardi at home, but they had bedding over here, jahan beds ke pure range thi. Then they had a special section for the children as well. So it was a whole different look to the store. You can see it is modern, but they have used a bit of wood over here, which gives a premium look. And yeah, so pretty much the same. And if you could go on to Ideas on the next slide over here. This was actually an older store, so Ideas is now renovating its stores. It's recently opened one in North Nazimabad, but over here this was an old store, the one we visited, and it was quite haphazard. So इनकी अभी sale चल रही थी, तो इन्होंने जो extra space थी इनकी, they had allocated that, they had actually allocated the extra inventory onto the floor, which was creating quite a clutter. जो इनका decompression zone था, as soon as we were stepping into that, it gave a very uneasy feeling as opposed to giving a easy cool off feeling at the other two stores and J Dot stores that we had visited. Over here हमने थोड़ा सा एक cluttered feeling observe करी थी. थोड़ा सा it was unorganized, बिखरा हुआ था. Perhaps because of the sale, they are actually able to benefit from their sales quite a lot because they play on the volumes, because they're a backwardly integrated company. So they benefit from that, from the volumes, because they have those back end margins. But साथ साथ ही जो इनका decompression zone था, it was quite cluttered. The store feeling wasn't as premium as the others. It wasn't quite as relaxing as the others. But yeah, it was. They did actually carry quite a few price offs and range. So yeah, it might. So that was their strategy. We'll move on to the next slide. And yeah, so retail mix यहाँ से शुरू होगा, and Osama will be carrying on from here.
Okay, so Assalamu alaikum. So I'll first talk about store design and layout. And the reason why we're talking about it in the beginning is that, you know, it's the most obvious thing. आप जब भी store में जाएंगे तो आपको बगैर दिमाग लगाए जो सबसे ज़्यादा differentiating चीज़ लगेगी store में, that would be its design and layout for any layman person. So starting off with the interior and architecture. So यहाँ पे, if you can see यहाँ पे, so these are the pictures from J Dot, from different J Dot stores. So one of them is from, I think, J Dot Lucky One. So you can see that there's a false ceiling painted in white, which is giving the store more formal look. So here we can see that all three stores have the wooden component attached to it. But during the interview, and also when we visited the Lucky One store, we saw that they were renovating it. So the person, our POC, they told us that they had two different formats that are currently operating, and they are coming up with a new one, and that is the change is happening in their Lucky One outlet. So yeah, they're constantly renovating their interior and architecture, and you can see that there is a store facade that has a very well lit J Dot logo. So at times they try to put it outside the store, so that, you know, it is a, like, from that it gives a cue to the people that it's J Dot. And yeah, and there's specific, like, there's a lighting that is lighting particularly for the mannequins as well. So it is very well lit so that you can see the mannequin as well. And as for different categories, so the three most top trending categories for J Dot are, it's women's wear, men's wear, and also their fragrances and cosmetic as well, because they try to club its fragrances and cosmetics together. So they allocate their square feet of space as per the biggest share that the category has. So this is one insight that we got. And their cosmetics and perfumes are at times kept in different kiosks, like mini stores. So if you can move to the next slide, Ali, I'll explain it with that. Yeah. So here are some of the examples. So this is the picture from J Dot at Dolmen Mall Clifton. And if you can see the other picture of in-store digital ad screen, so at that time it was broken. So if you can zoom in and see on the picture, the digital ad, it's broken. So yeah, we can talk about the hygiene as well, that the category, that the store hygiene at times is not maintained very well. Moving on to the next slide. Yeah, these are some of the other pictures as well. And if you just a fun fact, but you can see Zed and I also taking the picture in the other picture of perfume kiosk and mall. Next slide, please. Perfect. So yes, when I was referring to the different stores for cosmetic and fragrances, I was talking about the location. So they have usually J Dot has stores in malls. This is their primary location. And as we've studied in retailing as well, that location is extremely important for any store to succeed. So for the location strategy, they try to be present in almost every mall. And we visited Dolmen Mall Clifton, we visited Dolmen Mall Tariq Road, and also Lucky One. And in all three of these malls, they had three different stores. So there was one that was their flagship store, and then they had a smaller store, and then they had one store which had only fragrances and cosmetics. And at times they had one store and one kiosk and one smaller store for fragrances and their cosmetics. And usually, if they're not opening a store in the mall, then they try to look for rentals that are the cheapest. And also, another thing is that they don't prefer getting a is that has an edge or like the end side, so that they have a two-way entrance in it. So yeah, that's it from the location side. Now moving forward, we will cover other parts of the retail mix.
Now moving on to the pricing of JDOT, our contact told us that obviously different companies follow different pricing strategies. So एक pricing strategy basically ये होती है कि आप पूरे store के लिए पूरे brand के लिए एक pricing कर लें, और एक क्या होता है कि आपके brand में जो different variants हैं या जो different sub brands हैं brand के अंदर, आप उनके लिए अलग अलग pricing करें. So JDOT follows that basically, और हर category के लिए they have different pricing strategy. Which is basically based on their competitive positioning for the category या फिर the market conditions. So our contact told us that for their women's unstitched or ready to wear, they follow competitive pricing because there's a lot of competition in the category, and वहाँ पर they cannot really focus on their margins because they have to focus on competing in the category. Whereas in menswear, JDOT is the market leader, because of which they can follow premium pricing, और वो वहाँ पर अपनी margins पे थोड़ा ज़्यादा focus कर सकते हैं because JDOT is the leader in that category. Moreover, सेल्स प्रमोशंस जब हमने देखी तो वी नोटिस्ड कि उन्होंने हमें बताया कि JDOT बेसिकली हैज़ ऑलरेडी प्री डिफाइंड डेज और ओकेजन्स जिस पे सेल लगती है सिंस द पास्ट 5 years. And this really helps them capitalize on their sales because customers are now already aware of all the days or occasions जब JDOT पे sale लगेगी, so they can plan their shopping journey accordingly, and उसके हिसाब से they can look forward to those sales already, and that is why JDOT की काफ़ी ज़्यादा अच्छी sales हो जाती हैं during that time. Some examples of those sales include their summer gala, their summer clearance, their Azadi sale, or their winter sale. Next slide, please. Now we'll talk about the communications. So इनकी communications एक तो in store होंगी और एक through their social media channels. So in store communications are basically done in the form of inlays that are placed along with their waterfall. Waterfall जो कि unstitched का होता है, जिसमें उन inlays पे they've basically mentioned all the details about those clothes कि उसमें three piece dress है या फिर 2-piece dress है, and what is the material, how much material is present. Then if we look at their social media communications, basically our contact told us that because JDOT is their values are religious, they don't really use females as their models, and इसीलिए जब वो वुमेन की कैटेगरी को जो है वो एडवर्टाइज कर रहे होते हैं, उसके लिए कोई भी कम्युनिकेशंस बना रहे होते हैं बेसिकली, सो दे डोंट रियली फीचर मॉडल्स एंड इंस्टेड दे यूज मैनिक्विन्स एज यू कैन सी ऑन द स्क्रीन एज वेल. Moreover, इनकी सारी communications में no music is used because of religious reasons again. However, for their males category, जितने भी उनकी ranges हैं, या फिर for their kids category, they do use models, as again you can see on the screen. Moreover, I also noticed कि if there is an ad जिसके अंदर they have they're featuring the mother and the child, for example, या Eid collection है जिसके लिए males and females हैं, so they don't really show the face of the female model, but male जो male होगा या फिर जो बच्चा होगा उसका वो दिखा देंगे. Also for their sales promotions, I noticed कि all of their communications follow a theme. Moreover, most of their communications on social media, they're actually in the form of pictures and not really videos as such. So it gives it gives the feeling of an e-catalog, because customers को आदत होती थी पहले कि वो full printed catalogs देखते थे कि सारे designs क्या, and then they decide what to buy. So they post their entire collection in the form of pictures on all their social media, जिससे एक बहुत e-catalog सी feeling आ रही होती है for their loyal customers. Thank you.
I'll be discussing the merchandise management. So, as Usama has already discussed the product portfolio of JDOT, so I'll be moving with the merchandise display. So, जो display होता है, that is basically कि हर campaign के लिए जो design team है और जो marketing team है, they basically decide the theme, और उस हिसाब से उस theme के basis पे जो merchandising है, that is basically decided. मोर ओवर जब भी कोई कैंपेन स्टार्ट होती है तो जो शुरू का एक हफ्ता होता है उसमें हेड ऑफिस से देयर इज अ प्लानोग्राम दैट इज सेंड टू ऑल द रिटेल आउटलेट्स जिसमें उनको एज इट इज चीज़ें फॉलो करनी होती हैं. बट उसके बाद एज द कैंपेन प्रोग्रेसेस, क्योंकि हर आउटलेट में रिजल्ट्स आर डिफरेंट, राइट, क्योंकि इट इज़ टोटली डिपेंडेंट ऑन द कस्टमर्स के किसने कौन सा आर्टिकल चूज किया, कौन सा प्रेफर किया, तो उस बेसिस पे अपने फिर मर्चेंडाइजिंग को थोड़ा आगे पीछे करते हैं. ऑल्सो बाई वीकली या वीकली बेसिस पे द मर्चेंडाइजिंग डिस्प्लेज आर चेंज बिकॉज इट गिव्स अ न्यू आउटलुक टू द होल स्टोर. और इसकी वजह से फॉर एग्जाम्पल अगर एक ही कस्टमर आ रहे हैं 2 दफ़ा इन दैट टाइम ड्यूरेशन, तो उसको ये ना लगे कि देयर इज लाइक द स्टॉक इज सेम. सो उसका इंटरेस्ट स्टिमुलेट करने के लिए the merchandising displays are changed. Moreover, जो product display है basically उसका objective is to provide a delightful store experience to customers. And this is not only restricted to aesthetics but also the convenience part. Convenience in the sense कि जो zoning हुई होती है आपका जो सारे merchandise है that is basically divided into zones and sub zones in a retail store. तो वो उसकी zoning को ऐसे करते हैं. For example, I'll give you an example कि for example अगर वो है अनस्टिच्ड है, वो एक जगह लगा हुआ होगा तो उसके साथ देयर वुड बी रेडी टू वेयर एंड उसके साथ देयर वुड बी कुर्ती, बिकॉज इन केस अगर किसी को अनस्टिच्ड नहीं लेना तो दे डोंट हैव टू लाइक रोम द एंटायर स्टोर इन सर्च ऑफ मे बी द कुर्ती और रेडी टू वेयर, क्योंकि ऑब्वियसली दैट माइट फटीग द कंज्यूमर और वो he or she might leave. Moreover, there's a visual merchandising list जो कि store manager has to maintain और उसे weekly he has to ensure कि it is being followed. Moving on to the next slide. Next slide, please. With respect to sales targets, उसका ये होता है कि जो कपड़े हैं उनका देर इज़ अ वॉल्यूम बेस्ड टारगेट कि हर वॉल्यूम पे चेंज होता है. फॉर एग्जांपल और इन कॉन्ट्रास्ट जो फ्रेगरेंसेस और कॉस्मेटिक्स हैं उनका होता है इट्स पे अकॉर्डिंग टू द कैलेंडर एंड नॉट अकॉर्डिंग टू देयर नॉट अकॉर्डिंग टू द वॉल्यूम्स दे आर रिलीज्ड इन. इसी तरह देयर आर डिफरेंट डेली एंड मंथली टारगेट्स फॉर एवरी आउटलेट्स. Moreover, inventory stocking का there is कि हर स्टोर के पास उसका historical sales data होता है. They basically उसके बेसिस पे they decide कि कौन सा प्रोडक्ट एवरेज बिक रहा है, कौन सा हाई और कौन सा लो. उस बेसिस पे दे सेट के कितनी इन्वेंट्री लेवल होना चाहिए. फिर उस इन्वेंट्री लेवल को मेंटेन किया जाता है. ऑल्सो इट इज़ इंश्योर्ड कि अगर एक इन्वेंट्री टर्नओवर रेशियो आपने एक स्पेसिफिक मेंटेन करना है तो उस हिसाब से देयर हैज़ टू बी the inventory has to be stocked. Moreover, for customer service, they are currently improving on their customer service because now जो है अब जो पहले था customer क्या कहते हैं आपका पहले focus was के customer को satisfy करो, फिर था कि delight करो. Now it is all about customer experience. तो उसके लिए specifically they have their CROs, customer relationship officers at all of their flagship stores जो कि handle करते हैं customer grievances. So moving on.
So I'll talk about the loyalty program. So they have a loyalty program as a part of their customer relationship management. So इसमें इनका silver card होता है which you get when you have a total purchase of 10,000 rupees, and when you accumulate 100,000 rupees shopping at JDOT, you get upgraded to the गोल्ड कार्ड जिसमें आपको 12.5% डिस्काउंट मिलता है on every purchase compared to 7.5% discount on the silver card. So moving on to the
Right, so I'll be talking
recommendations.
about the recommendations. Yeah, so we noticed that there needs to be better zoning done. So if you look on the right, that's a picture of Cardi and how they've actually segmented the store. So, एक जो J-Dot में मसला था, it was that everything was the same. There was no difference in tiling. There was there were no arches that would give a different zone. There were labels, yes, but that wasn't enough. So Cardi में, for example, what they had done is tiling different हुई हुई थी. जो lighting ऊपर थी, वहाँ different colored की ceiling कर दी थी. And I talked about this earlier, how they had a false ceiling somewhere where the others places they didn't. So this needs to needs to be done better. Moving on to the next slide, we did notice how basically there was no cross selling. So on the right is a picture of how Cardi has done cross selling. The mannequin, as you can see, actually has a lot of it has sunglasses, it has earrings, it has slippers, and all of those products are displayed at the same place. So there was a lot of cross selling being done, which wasn't being done in J-Dot. There were separate places for every single thing. And if they can do this, then they can increase their basket size, as studies have shown that these do enable increase in basket sizes. So that was one thing we did notice that should be done. I'll move on to the next slide. And here we did notice that at J-Dot, this was our personal experience. They weren't really, the salespeople weren't really approaching, and at some times they would actually be very too intruding. And this is why we would recommend that they could have a different trolley or a basket where I would like to be assisted or I would not like to be assisted. There would be a segment. And moving on to the last recommendation, I would really like to experiment how the digital experience. The e-commerce is a huge channel for them, and building an omni-channel experience as well as trial rooms that are digitally fitted are important.